Welcome back to Unplugged, Raising Resilience. I'm Ben, the camp director, and I'm here again with Badyr, the assistant director.
Hi.
So today we're talking about independence, but before we get into that, we have to start by talking about the pre-camp jitters. We know a lot of you guys are sitting at home with kids who are anxious about coming to camp and starting something new. Badyr, so every June you talk to parents that are nervous because their children are nervous. And it can be kind of a feedback loop, right? It makes it worse. So what do you think would be good advice to give to a parent that wants to be supportive, but also knows that maybe their camper needs a push to be able to grow?
My best suggestion to parents is validate the feeling. I know you're nervous, and that's okay. It's okay to have that nervousness. I get nervous. My wife gets nervous. I mean, even when my grandparents are with my child, they get nervous, even though they've parented for over 40 years, and that's totally fine. But definitely acknowledging it is important. I know I've seen it in parents' eyes, like, I'm giving you the most precious thing in my life here, right? But that anxiety vanishes quickly once they hit the field, right? And I mentioned it's like stretching before an activity. You want to make sure you warm up your muscles before you do anything crazy. And as we know, as most of us who are over 30, we realize that, if we don't stretch, we potentially can hurt ourselves. So definitely that validation goes a very long way. The same principle applies to independence. So we see it every year, the kid who doesn't want to come out of their car, they're just nervous and sitting there like, oh my God, who's that person? But we train a lot in that. And I think a lot of parents actually might not know that we spend a lot of time training, like, put on a smile, how to introduce yourself, getting on that camper's level to make it that ease of entry into camp a lot nicer. So I hope you all hear it. I'm sure you will. Those who drop off their campers, you're going to hear, good morning, huge smile, welcome. Who do we have here with us? Like I said, they can be nervous on one side by the beginning of camp, and then by the end of the week, they're leading the group. You're like, well, whoa, that was a huge transformation. And I think that all starts with scaffolding. Maybe you can explain a little bit what scaffolding is.
Yeah, so like when you're building a house, right? You set up scaffolding as part of like a support, but the idea is that we're leading towards independence. We don't want to leave that support in place long term. Is whenever you hear your children talking about camp in a way that they might feel anxious, or what if I don't make any friends, or what if my friend is not there at the same time as I am, right? Validate their emotions with empathy, of course. But then also talk about the exciting things that you have when you have good support. What are the things that we're looking forward to? What are the benefits on the other side? A great way to do it is, instead of talking about hypotheticals, talk about things that the child has actually done in their life, things that they love to do, and remind them how maybe the first time they tried it, they were really afraid. They were really anxious. Sometimes kids also get really caught up in this feeling of, well, if I'm not good at something, then I don't want to do it. I have to be good at it right away. So that's another thing to remind as well. What are some of the things that you really love to do, right? Maybe they play an instrument, they play a sport, even something as simple as, making some toast for themselves in the morning. I even sometimes tell my own son, who's 9, I even say, well, there was a point where you didn't even know how to walk.
100%.
You didn't know any words, right? And so growing is a normal thing, right? And that's part of what we do. So going to camp is going to give you an opportunity to learn and practice some new skills. And the good thing is that the people at camp really care about you, and they're looking forward to having you at camp, and they're going to provide you that support and that structure when you get there. It's okay to be nervous, right? But we can't let the nervousness be the end. So in the last episode, we talked about this book a little bit, The Anxious Generation. I definitely recommend it. If you're somebody who likes to read, definitely pick up a copy from your library or buy. Or they also have the audiobook version, I'm sure, too. So in this book, Jonathan Haidt talks about how we've overprotected kids in the real world while underprotecting them on the internet, online. The cure for that anxiety, according to Haidt, is competence. And as parents, our instinct is, of course, to remove the obstacles. Whenever we see our kids challenged with something, we want to help them, right? But we're actually removing the opportunity that is there with the obstacle to realize, hey, I'm capable. I can do this. I can handle it. So independence is not about ignoring your camper's feelings, like we talked about before. Validating your feelings is important, but it's acknowledging the feelings, but then also staying strong enough as a parent to let them face the challenge
So,
and trust them.
so they kind of get the tools on how to handle those difficulties.
Absolutely. And you don't get those tools unless you actually try and practice and use them. It's like a muscle, just like we've talked about before. So that's the way that kids can build self-efficacy, right? Big term, right? But that's what it means. Like, we don't stop them from wearing seatbelts in the car just because the kids feel like, oh, it's uncomfortable and I don't like this on my body or whatever it is. We keep them on. We keep the seatbelt on because we love them. We want to keep them safe. In the same way, pushing kids towards independence it's kind of like a social seatbelt, right? It might feel uncomfortable at first, but it's what keeps them safe in the long run. So Badyr, once the kids get past that initial fear and realize that they can handle it, how does that change their game IQ, their leadership, their abilities here at camp?
I think it comes back down to executive functioning skills. So people have to think on their feet, and it can get messy. It's not a straight line. It's a lot of zigzags. It's kind of who's my support system, who's around me. There's no reset button. It's problem solving in reality. And I could think of specific instances where, whether it's the first time getting out of the car, whether it was losing that game at baseball, or it was the epicness of Gaga, and they're like, I was gonna do it, but I didn't do it, or my friend got out and then I didn't get out, and it's real frustrating situations that actually happen that had to be navigated by campers, and they not necessarily might have the skills. So having those people who are there that are attentive, that are locked into their camper or to their small group, they're there to help them do all those things and give them the tools they need.
Yeah, I think the counselors definitely make a big deal, make a big difference in the experience at camp. It actually reminds me a little bit of the prayer of St. Francis, being an instrument of peace. So peace comes when a child isn't feeling like they're held captive to their own fear. So by pushing them towards independence, we're helping them to become secure, confident people who can eventually help others. Bringing it back to our motto, right? Respect yourself, respect others,
and
respect the environment. The first pillar is respect yourself, because that's where it starts, right? You have to respect and understand your own potential in order to do the hard things. I was talking to a camp parent earlier this week, and she said, we're thinking about coming back to camp, but and she listed a couple of things that her son didn't like about camp last year. And it wasn't really anything major. It was just like, well, he really wants to do a little bit more of this one sport. And he really didn't like this one activity that he only had twice a week, and it's a hard conversation, because I think as a parent, we think we're advocating for our children, but instead saying, well, we need to design a world where everything caters to them, is actually turning it completely backwards. Because if the only way that we can enjoy something is if every single moment is planned to our exact preferences, when kids don't even know exactly what their own preference is going to be, side note, well, then they're never really going to learn how all the challenges can lead to great opportunities in the future. You might say, well, I don't feel like playing this sport today because of whatever reason, but what if you push through? There's opportunities there. There's magic, there's richness, there's things on the other side that could be incredible, that you're immediately giving up on and missing out on because you didn't want to feel uncomfortable.
It's the total experience, right? I could see that because I know so many people, at least, I teach 6th through 12th grade. I have people like, oh, I only want to work on this one thing. And I'm like, well, you're kind of missing the point of the big picture, that bird's eye view, so to speak. So at least where I teach, they focus on the whole world experience, right? So as an international baccalaureate school, they are very much like, you need to be a world viewer. You need to see things from multiple directions. So I can see it at camp, where not only are you playing basketball, which you might be great at, but then you're terrible at soccer, and I don't really want to play that. And be like, well, you might have the time of your life if you're doing it with your friend, if you have somebody who's making it a safe space for them to kind of be in. So again, it comes back down to the connections, and it comes full circle.
Yeah, so we want to encourage all the parents out there. Your kids are fine. Stay strong. We've got them once they get here. We're going to coach them every step of the way. And keep in mind that a screen-free summer is a great reset for a child's confidence.
Look, we're ready for the challenge. Be well. Let's get after it.
Peace and all good.